Hello, I'm Greg Rutke of Rutke Mods, and welcome to episode 10 of season 3 of my PowerPC series. Happy New Year, y'all. And yes, I know it's March, but this is the first episode of this season that happens to be filmed this year. A lot of things have happened, and a lot of things needed to be taken care of and stuff, and there's still a few things that are still wrong, but I really wanted to get this video out to you guys because I want to start using this Mac, and it's just literally been sitting since I got it back in, I think, September, August, something like that, somewhere in the back. I'll link a video up here to the video where S.3 gave it to me, and this is a very special Mac. It's the most powerful PowerPC ever made, and it is my G5 Quad. This thing is awesome, and isn't set up yet because I've been waiting to do this video until it was just the right time to do it. Now, this Mac right here was given to me by S.3 and Sell Your Mac. This was a recyclable system. It was in the recycling bin, and basically what they do with these systems is they'll put a layer of tires on the bottom as a floor, and then put tires around in this giant bin to make walls, and then they'll just start chucking them in. And this is one of the ones that got chucked into the recycling bin, and it's got the original recycling sticker still taped onto the top of it. Now, this system was deemed not repairable. If they run, they'll auction them off usually. So if this thing it didn't start up, Jay fixed it. He fixed it. He got it running, and Sell Your Mac gave him permission to give it to me. So I want to thank both Jay and SellYourMac.com for giving me this G5 Quad. It's a very awesome system, and it runs quite well when I tested it. Of course, like I said, it's not set up yet. Now, if you go to episode 5 of season 1 of the PowerPC series, which you can check right up here, I go into much more detail about the late 2005 G5s. And also in season 1, in episode 10, I show you some more things about G5s. But anyway, if you want to go back and check those out, I'll have those both up in the top and also in the description. But this thing's really cool. It's the most powerful PowerPC system ever made. It's got 2 dual-core G5s in it running at 2.5 gigahertz. It's currently got 16 gigs of DDR2 RAM in it. And what we will be doing is we're going to be replacing the 6600 NVIDIA video card in it with a 7800 GT right here. This was in my dual-core late 2005 before I upgraded that to the X1900 ATI card. This one's going to be more compatible with a few things I want to do, though. Even though it might be a little less powerful than the card that's in the other system, I want to put this into the Quad. It's, I think, the second most powerful retail card you could buy. And it's actually an OEM option for these systems. So we got that. We are going to be putting 2 1TB drives into it, running in RAID 0, because who cares about redundancy? If it crashes and dies, oh well, I can just restore it. I've got multiple backups I can do with it, and it will speed it up. Running it in RAID 0, we'll be running it in a software RAID. And the last big upgrade we're going to be doing to the system is we're going to be installing a custom 3.1 Mac Pro Wi-Fi card in it, just like I have in my dual-core late 2005. This will only work in Leopard. It might work in Tiger if I ever figure out how to get the KEX to load, but it's an Intel driver, so far I've only gotten it to work in Leopard. But it works great in Leopard, and it will also work in Linux, which we'll be running Linux in this eventually. That's going to be in an update video though. Right now in today's video we're just going to be showing you the system, what it can, and not really what it can do, but show you the system being upgraded, and some of the neat things like the sound it makes when it starts up, which is awesome. And that's the first thing we're going to do when we get into the next segment. So anyway, before we do all that, I would also like to mention JVry's biggest website, which he has sponsored me for the last few months, and I thank you a whole lot, Jay, for that. AppleSerialNumberInfo.com. Jay has been running it since 2006. It's a great website to give you details about your Apple product. By just typing in a serial number, it will tell you what it came with and if it's still under warranty, and even if SellYourMac.com will offer you anything for it. It's a very nice website. You guys should check it out. It's awesome. Great website. And Jay would love it if you'd submit your vintage Mac serial numbers. He's looking for older PowerPCs and stuff. Stuff he doesn't have in his huge list of serial numbers yet. So like beige towers, even the blue and white G3s, he doesn't have a huge database of that. They don't like to come up. So if you submit your serial number with the details about it, it will help him out a lot. And yeah, check his site out, AppleSerialNumberInfo.com. And anyway, so yeah, we're going to get into this G5 quad now, and let's get to it. Okay, so I'm currently holding the microphone in my hand because I want you guys to hear this thing start up from a cold start. As Jay would say, it sounds kind of like a T800 Terminator starting back up. It sounds really cool. It's a really cool sound to hear. And before we start it up, I would like to quickly once again go over water-cooled G5s. If you have a water-cooled G5, you need to take the cooler out and check for leaks, no matter what. If you buy it, you need to check it before you power up for the first time, because the fluids in these systems, these cooling systems, are GM Dex Cool usually. Let's see here, Delphi and I think Philips made coolers for G5s that were liquid cooled. And Delphi made most of them, and they ran GM Dex Cool coolant in them, which would melt the O-rings, and this is a Delphi, as you can see here. It would melt the O-rings, sealing the system off and cause the Dex Cool to leak out. Dex Cool is very corrosive and very conductive, so it will short out anything it touches, and it will also eat a hole through your hands if you're touching it with bare hands. It's some nasty stuff. So you always want to make sure you get the corrosive fluid out of it if it is leaking, and all G5s leak except for this model. This was the very last cooling revision. There were two of them on the G5 quads, and of course the G5 quad was only available in the late 2005 models. The first one just used regular connectors and stuff, and it would leak. The second one, though, everything was epoxied shut. So this system will not leak. For it to leak, it would take some freaking incredible miracle for it to happen. But that doesn't mean you're not going to have cooler problems. This system, these coolers right here, as we can see, these coolers right here will have another problem. The Dex Cool in them will eventually start breaking down, and it makes this sandy material which will start plugging up the pumps. So even though it won't leak, the pumps will eventually fill, and luckily this system hasn't done that yet. I do need to open it sometime soon and actually redo the thermal paste. We're not doing that in the video though. I'll probably film that when I do redo the thermal paste, because it's very interesting looking on the inside. But yeah, anyway, so to stop wasting time here, let's start this thing up from cold. A cold startup sounds a whole lot different than what it sounds like when it's warmed up. So I'll move the camera down here and try to hold it like this while I put the microphone right here, and I get all weirdly configured here. And we're going to start it up. I'm going to get as quiet as possible. You guys can hear this thing start up. So 3, 2, 1. Right now, sorry, I'm still holding the microphone at the cooler. And right now, it is booting up. It does have a hard drive in it currently. I think it's a 160 gig. It will boot up, and then it will quiet down itself when the software kicks in. These actually run pretty quiet, especially once they're running in software mode, so it's pretty cool. But yeah, that's what they sound like when they first start up. It's a really, really, really neat sound, and it's just something to behold. It's a really neat thing that they did, even though I'm not actually holding the microphone the right direction again. It's a really neat thing that they did, even though it's still, you know, this is the only cooler that they ever did properly, and it still didn't work right. So yeah. And another thing, Delphi, of course, is GM. This is essentially a car radiator. Very interesting how they did it. And it runs great, at least this particular cooler. And now you can hear it quieted right down as it booted up. And yeah, so anyway, what I'm going to do is put the cover back over top of this and set it up so we can do the upgrades. Okay, so here's what the inside of the G5 quad looks like when the covers are back on, and it just looks like any other late 2005 G5, and you wouldn't even know it's a quad unless you took the cover off or looked at this sticker down here. So anyway, before we take everything and upgrade it, I'll show you quickly what I did. This has the Airport Extreme antenna in it, and Extreme card down in there, so I don't have to worry about spending $120 on a runway card. It also has a USB card, which we're going to take out to show you. It's a PC card. This card is not officially supported as a Mac card. And I found it because it looks just like the SIG card I have in my Dual. It's got the same chip in it. And it happens to be this card right here. Can't remember who makes it right offhand. It does not say. But anyway, this card right here has the same NEC chip that is compatible with any Mac that in the PowerPC world that you know, has PCI slot. Same USB 2 chip. And I noticed it was that NEC chip. I'm like, well, it probably would work in a Mac, and it does. It works great. So I got this card in here. It's got my Bluetooth plugged into it. And it's great because then I have extra USB ports, and this is actually a 4-porter on the back, and it's a 5-port card, so it gives me even a few more ports than the dual core does, which is neat. I just wanted to show you guys that. We're going to actually be putting that card back in, but I think I'm going to relocate it a little bit. We'll see. I think I'm actually going to put the Wi-Fi in that slot and put the USB above the Wi-Fi. So yeah. So we're going to take out the 6600 and this hard drive right here. If I can get to it. See what size this is. I think this was the one that came in my dual, or did my dual come with one? No, this was the one that came in my 3.1 Pro. So yeah, this is actually a 500 gig. It's a lot of storage there. So yeah, that came in my 3.1 Pro. What we're going to be installing is two of these right here. These are 1 terabyte each, and this card here, which has a huge glob of hot glue in it to keep the wires from flopping around. It doesn't look great, but it's going to work. This is a 3.1 Mac Pro Wi-Fi card. It will work great in Leopard. And then we'll be putting in the 7800 GT right here. And if you're curious where that plugs in at, it's a little hard to find in these systems. They started doing the onboard power in this particular system, the late 2005 G5s. You can see the connector right up in there. If you look, it's not focusing very well, but you can see it. That's where it is, and that's where this wire will plug into. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to take out the 6600 and set up the tripod, and we'll do the upgrade. So let's go. Okay, so I've put the hard drive screws into the hard drives, as we can see here. These little rubber things here that helps them slide into the sleds and stuff. The neat thing about G5s is not all of them come with them if you buy them used, of course, because people have used them and then thrown away the hard drives and stuff with them still in them. But there's a mounting point for screws right here. You just take the screws out and put them into a hard drive if you want to add one. So it's pretty handy. Anyway, so we're going to start putting these cards in, and I've got to figure out how to get it all arranged and stuff. Let's do the hard drives first. I think I got it in. Okay. Alright. Let's see how far I've pushed it out of frame. It's not too bad. Alright. Whew. Let's go from the top to the bottom. What cards do I want to go in first? You know, come to think of it, I think I want the Wi-Fi at the top. I lost the screw. Yeah. Okay, so the screw's not going in. I think the hole's too big. So I've got to find a bigger screw to get it to stay. And I've got to find this screw, which fell into the fan assembly. That's one of the design flaws of G5s that really get on your last nerve, because if it falls any further, I'm going to have to take the cooler out anyway. Okay, I got the other screw out, and I don't know where I just sat it, but I got it out. I've got a bigger screw here now, and we're going to try this again. Okay. we got the screw in. Now we just got to plug in the power. All right. And it looks like everything's hooked up. Let's show you what I've done. We've got the 7800 GT, the USB card, the Mac Pro 3.1 Wi-Fi card, and two 1 terabyte hard drives. It all looks pretty darn good, and it all looks ready to go. I'm going to plug it in real quick and make sure that there is power going to the video card, and then we'll hook it up to where my dual is plugged in right now, and we'll I'll set it up, and then we'll come back with it fully functional and running. Alright, let's see if the video card spins up. Yep, we've got power. It looks like everything is a go. I just gotta hook up the antennas and put the install media in and set this baby up. So before I start setting this thing up, I want to actually show you guys what the case looks like. It's a little rough, but it's pretty straight. There are dents in it, which we'll see in a second, and there's a lot of scuffs on it. But the handles themselves look pretty good. The case itself is pretty darn straight. As we can see here, I am going to actually preserve the original recycling sticker here. This thing ended up in at least 2 different places before it ended up being totally recycled, and then Jay getting it. And this is, I think, the first one. So yeah, that's got that, and also it's been preserved with one of my hairs in it, it looks like. Yuck. But anyway, so that's the original recycling sticker there. So yeah, this thing definitely was saved from a very poor fate there. This thing is still going to be a very usable system even today because of how much power it already has. But yeah, it's got some good scuffs from bouncing off of things. It's stained kind of like it sat outside for a while. The insides are pretty much spotless, but the outside it's rough, but still not terribly awful. There's some dents down through here, but not too bad. This side's got some good scratches on it, and then we've got the back. We can quickly go over what we have here. We have the new 3.1 Mac Pro Wi-Fi card, the USB 2 card that I put in it, the 7800 GT, 2 1 gig Ethernet jacks, Firewire 800, 400, digital audio in and out, speaker out, audio in, and 3 USB 2s, plus the C19 port and the adapter, so I can just use a regular C1314 cable. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And then when we open it up, we'll quickly go over it one more time. There's another good scrape there, but the case, there's really not much wrong with it, just a few dents in it, but the handles are nice and square, which is nice. And it came with the side air shield here. It's got the original working super drive, both hard drives I just installed, all those cards, and then 16 gigs of DDR2. And this is ECC RAM. My dual actually can run regular DDR2 without ECC. This thing didn't seem to like the regular RAM. The regular RAM actually cost less than this RAM, so I saved literally half off buying regular RAM, and then this thing wouldn't see anything past 4 gigs of regular DDR2, so we had to go with the ECC RAM in this system, and it works fine. So I don't know why it won't see it like the dual will, but go figure. Anyway, so now I'm going to set this up, and the next time you see it, it will be running and fully set up. So I'll see you then. Okay, this is the second time I've set up the disks because I forgot to actually put a data partition in on here to store random files and stuff for my operating systems. I always like to have a data partitions on my G5s because it's useful. But anyway, so this time I've got the drive set up a little differently than the last time. If we look in partitions, we still have the top partition, then the second partition, and then free space for the Linux install drive here. And then here we've got it's partitioned out the same way, except in the free space is actually the data drive now. And if we look in Leopard for the RAID, we have 860 gigs still available for Leopard, and 400 available for Tiger. So now I'm going to reinstall all the operating systems again an hour later and do this all over again. So this is the current setup, and I'm more happy with this setup now. Okay, so I've only set up Leopard currently on this system. This is running my dual cores operating system. Basically, it's running a complete backup of it. So it's got all my apps and all the files from the dual core running on the quad. And as we can see here, it is running on the quad, which is awesome. And up here we can see the CPUs. And if we click on it, we can see the load and all that stuff. Now, the way you can tell if your liquid cooling system is failing on a quad is if these temperatures right here at idle are around 60 degrees or higher, you know there's something wrong. Or if one set of the CPUs, this is one set, this is one set, if one of them's like 10 plus degrees higher than the other, you know something's wrong with the cooling system. And as we can see here, my cooling system is totally fine right now. The memory controller always runs hot. But yeah, it's totally fine right now. And we can look up here. We have the 5 gigahertz band because of the Mac Pro 3.1 Airport Extreme there. We can look through our specs here. We'll go down to graphics and displays. We can see my 7800 GT. Let's see here, what else did we put in here? The 2 hard drives, which are set up in RAID 0. Let's see here, what else can we look at here? We'll go to memory. We can see all of my RAM modules are working. One of them reads at the wrong speed. I don't know why. It always has. But they seem to all run at the proper speed. So who knows why it does that. You know, and we've got all that. This identifies it as the 43, which is the 3.1's Wi-Fi card here. And yeah, it's looking awesome. I'm not going to really show you guys the performance of this system just yet. I want to save that for the next video, but I do want to run a benchmark on it so you can get a general idea of how this system is running as compared to another PowerPC system. So we will open up Geekbench whenever I see it. There it is. We'll open up Geekbench and we'll run the Geekbench on it and see what the results are. So I'll run that Actually, before we do that, I also want to show you how the drives are set up. I've got the Leopard, Data, and Tiger drive, and if I go into Applications and go over to Disk Utility, we can see all the things are set up. We can see it's all rated out here, and since we've got this all running here, let's see if I can find my other test here, which I have all this stuff currently in another folder because it was really making the desktop look bad. Xbench. Let's just run the disk test and see if it does anything. Start. Oh yeah. Yeah, I can safely tell you these drives are running on a SATA 1 these drives are running on a SATA 1 disk interface, and as we can see here, just even with it still running, you can tell it is running at SATA 2 speeds in RAID 0. It basically doubled the speed of the drives, which means RAID 0 is working quite well. So I'm happy with that. So we'll close that out. Make sure that's closed. Make sure everything else is closed. And we will run the benchmark for Geekbench here. Alright, there we go. Here's our results here. I don't think this is the highest it can get. I think we could probably even do better. But this is a nice, just quick run. We'll run it again in the next video, if I remember to, anyway. But anyway, it's not a bad score. And the G5 Quad outperformed All-Core Duo 2006 Max. So yeah, it was still pretty powerful. Plus of 64-bit versus 32. But you know, when the 64-bit Intel CPUs came out, the Quad got blown out of the water. But still, this thing was quite the contender, and it did keep up with a lot of benchmarks and performance tests compared to even the 1,1 Mac Pro, the base one, like the I think it was a 2 gigahertz quad core. So it was 2 dual core Intel Xeons, but anyway, it kept up with that pretty well. And even today, you know, those systems are pretty useful today. And this system actually is pretty useful. It basically has twice the performance and power of the dual core, because it's literally twice the system, twice the CPUs and all that stuff. And you know, the thing of diminishing returns and stuff, you'd think it really wouldn't be double. It really is. It's double in performance. And it's quite the amazing system. It really rips, and I am really excited to do more videos on this in the future. It's a very powerful system. I'll set up Tiger on here. It's got Tiger installed, I just haven't put my backup on it. And I'll also set up some distro of Linux, and try to get it to work with the NVIDIA graphics, unlike I couldn't do in the past and had to disable because of all those problems. with the kernel and stuff. But anyway, this thing, it runs great. It's very reliable. It stays nice and cool, as you can see up there. No complaints whatsoever for that, and it's pretty darn quiet. I do hear a little bit of a drone from one of the fans. I'll have to go through the fans and re-oil them. But honestly, it's pretty quiet. You can't really hear it. And, that's just a sign that this system was, I'd assume, probably not used a whole lot in its day. It was probably taken good care of, and most of the damage that was done to it was being tossed into the bin at least once, probably twice. So, yeah, the insides, like I said, were pretty clean. I think this thing was well taken care of, and honestly, I don't see why they got rid of it. I mean, I guess since it wasn't powering on, that would be one good reason, but Jay said it wasn't really hard at all to fix, so go figure. Anyway, speaking of Jay, once again, guys, go check out his website, appleserialnumberinfo.com. Go submit your serial numbers for him and help him out. That would be awesome. He'd thank you, and I'd definitely thank you. It'd mean a lot to me if you'd go check that out, and it'd mean a lot to him. Also, once again, thanks Cellular Mech for giving me this system. And don't forget, guys, I am now sponsored by CellularMac.com, so if you have an Apple product that's not a PowerPC, sadly, but if you have an Apple product that's pretty recent that you'd like to sell to them, if you go to CellularMac.com/RotKMods and sell it through that, I'll get a little kickback, which will help me. And I'd greatly appreciate it, and you would too, because you'll be making money from it, which is really awesome. And also, guys, don't forget that I do now have a Patreon. If you'd like to help support me, I'll have a link at the end of the video and also in the description. And that's the end of today's video, guys, and thank you guys for watching. This has been a RotKMods video. So, I've got a Leopard RAID set up here. If we look under RAID, once it spins the disk back up, any day now, the installed disk went to sleep. Where'd it go? Disk utility. Anyway, as it reloads everything, we've got the Leopard one here set up under RAID.